comparison to our preliminary task, I've realised the learning I've had about micro features has really made a difference to our editing, sound, and the angles we've used in our final piece. I found that the editing and all the editing terminology that we found has made a massive difference in how we've actually edited. Without all of the knowledge that we had got from that, we wouldn't have been able to decide the sort of how we wanted our narrative to be. With the sound, we learned about sound bridges, which we decided to use with the antagonist. We learnt about non-diegetic and diegetic sound, which makes a huge difference because without our diegetic sound in our bike scenes, it would just be the backing track and it just wouldn't build the same suspense. With mise-en-scène, we've learnt how important it is to make our scene not look like a school, because obviously a lot of our shooting was at school. We've done that through lighting and costumes, angles, and the angles that we've had to use are really so much more advanced than the beginning. In our preliminary task, we used a lot of mid shots, high angle. We used one-off. We didn't even do that effectively. We had a couple of extreme close-ups, but generally really basic mid shots, extreme close-ups, slightly long shots, and there was nothing really emphasised from the micro features. One thing we did use again in our final piece was a match on action. I'm going to compare the match on actions in a video in a second between the first one we did in our preliminary task and the one we have in our final piece. I think it's quite clear to see how far we have come in terms of the angles we use and things like that from our preliminary to our main task with that specific part. Not breaking the 180-degree rule was something we had to learn quite quickly. Our first take of our preliminary task completely broke the 180-degree rule. We didn't keep that in mind, we went all different angles, and it was just very disorientating for the audience. So we've learned the 180-degree rule is so important to keep continuity and everything like that. Without the 180-degree rule, our piece would just be confusing and not really have the same sort of linear narrative as we want in our piece. We've also learnt the importance of using a tripod, but we learnt that in our preliminary task we didn't really use a tripod as much as we should have, which did affect the sort of balance of our pieces. Then the first time we filmed our wood scene, we didn't use a tripod that much, and when we got back and saw all of the pieces, we realised that none of them were good enough, which made us realise how important using a tripod is and the importance of knowing how to get the camera in and out of focus and things like that. I've really come along with my skills just generally using a camera because I didn't do media last year, so I didn't really have any background knowledge of it. I've learned how to take things in and out of focus, rewatch things, cut things, retake things, how to move the camera with the tripod, the different levels you can have the tripod, how to put a tripod on the camera, how to take it off, all things like that I had no idea how to do until the sort of period in between our preliminary task and our final piece was where I developed all of those skills. The thing I'd say I've really improved on is my sound. Without sound, your piece can go from plain, simple and boring to great tension, huge atmosphere, building up something really interesting. In our preliminary task, we didn't have any sound really other than speech and crying. We also have learned that you can't just keep replaying the same sound, you have to have a continuous sound like a wild track, or the cars moving and the bike scene, and all things like that are so important. Since the preliminary task, I've also learnt how to title effectively. I've learnt about the structure of titles, like the order they should go in, how to bring titles onto a screen and back off using keyholes. I've learnt how to fade in and fade out. I've learnt how to create title sequences. I put a lot of effort into our title sequences, so it took a lot of time to get each shot at a good level, how many titles that you need on top of each other if you have more than one on. We did a transition where they all came in on different times, and learning how to do that through keyholes and timings and things like that was really hard, but when we finished it, it was really effective and worthwhile.